Oh, pardon me. I didn't see you there. I'm here on strictly whiskey business. What is going on, everyone? I hope you all had a good weekend. Today we are going to be finally taking a look at the ViewSonic XG3220, which is a 32-inch 4K gaming monitor, which you may have seen briefly on the channel in a recent video where I went over my new editing setup. So we're going to be taking a deep dive into this monitor and going over all of its features. But first, today's video is brought to you by gvgmall.com, where you could save money on video games for all of your favorite platforms, as well as software like Windows 10 Pro, which you can get over there now for just $15. And if you use my code JPGVG10 at checkout, you can save yourself an additional 10% on software. And if you use the code JPGVG3, you can save yourself 3% off of any games that you pick up over there. Be sure to check out the link in the description below. So as I said, this is a 32-inch 4K monitor. It is retailing right now for $599 over on Amazon. If you want a link, it will be down in the description below if you want to go over there and check it out for the most current pricing, look at the customer reviews and all that stuff so you can get the best information that you can before making a purchase decision. But hopefully at the end of this video, you'll have a little bit more information to help you out with that if you're deciding whether or not you want to pick up the XG3220 from ViewSonic. Now, I was extremely excited to get this monitor in for testing for the biggest fact is that it's 32 inches, and there's so many 4K monitors that we see that are 27 inches, 28 inches, and to be honest, for that resolution, they are just way too small, and Windows display scaling is horrible. It's never been good. It's gotten better, but it's still not great because certain applications just won't work with it, and you'll be ending up squinting, looking at really tiny text, and things along those lines. Some applications will have really blurry text, but with having a 32-inch screen, you kind of get rid of that because you can actually use it at 100% display scaling without having to squint to read things. You don't have to rely on the display scaling, and then you get all the benefits of having 4K with the additional real estate without any of the compromises really that you would see on some of the smaller size 4K displays which we've seen out in the market. And having that extra screen real estate is definitely beneficial to someone like me who's doing video editing on a daily basis. As you saw, it was at my editing setup, and that's for a reason. It's so that I could have that extra space to have my files up, so that I could have a full resolution 1080p window in the top right corner of the screen and be able to fit many different rows and tracks onto whatever I happen to be working on. So having the 4K is definitely important to me just for the aspect of screen real estate at the desktop. And of course, when it comes to gaming, you could certainly take advantage of that as well. If you're wanting to do some high resolution gaming, you could definitely use this with something like an Xbox One X or a PS4 if that's something that you're wanting to do. And I have a feeling that a lot of those console gamers that are looking to maybe pick up a monitor like this would be drawn in by the fact that on paper this monitor does support HDR, although it's really not true HDR, unfortunately. We still aren't seeing that in any monitors at this price point. You're having to pay an arm and a leg to get true HDR in a monitor like this, so you kind of got to be wary when you do see that on the packaging, because you want to have at least 1000 nits of peak brightness and over 10-bit color, which this monitor is just not doing, like a lot of monitors out there right now in this current price point. So this is actually running at a 300 nits of peak brightness, so that's not anywhere near what we would need to have true HDR. And it's not a true 10-bit color display either. It's an 8-bit color, and it's achieving 10-bit through dithering, so it's kind of a simulated software side implementation of HDR to try to get it. It basically registers as HDR, but you're not going to see the full benefit, and also it doesn't have local dimming, so yeah, you're really not getting the full benefit of what HDR should be, and you're not going to get that unless you're looking to spend over $1,000 on a monitor. So I wouldn't pick this monitor up for the HDR aspect, but that doesn't change the fact that it's still a very good gaming monitor and productivity monitor, outside of the fact that the HDR on here just leaves a whole lot to be desired. So it does have FreeSync support. It's actually working at 40 to 60 hertz at 4K, so you can go ahead and take advantage of that, and which is a pretty good range. Honestly, I did some gaming with this on like Rainbow Six Siege, and I was hovering between like 40 to 60 FPS in a lot of the areas using a Vega 64 graphics card. So if you're using a card like that and you're wanting to play games at 4K, it's obviously your mileage is going to vary based on the games that you play and the settings that you're using. But with something like Vegas 64, you could definitely take advantage of the 4K, like high settings on a lot of modern titles. Not all of them. Some games are going to be a lot more demanding, and some games are going to be a lot easier to run, of course. Something like Overwatch, you'll probably be able to max out and get a solid 60 frames per second, in which case you probably wouldn't really even need the FreeSync, but it's there and it's definitely appreciated, and the 40 to 60 hertz range is quite good. The XG3220 is running an MVA panel, so it's kind of right in the middle of the road and it shares some of the features, pluses and minuses, from IPS as well as TN. You got really deep blacks because it is a VA panel. Colors are not accurate as IPS, but not as bad as a TN panel, and response time here was 5 milliseconds using overdrive, which is perfectly adequate. There was just a minimal amount of ghosting that I was able to see in some, isolated testing. But in actual use, playing on a game, playing something like Rainbow Six Siege, Far Cry, Battlefield 1, nothing that I could really notice that detracted from me trying to enjoy my gaming experience. Although the deep blacks, I would say, on the MVA are definitely some of the best I've seen on VA panel types, so really good job with the blacks on this, and I do like having that, especially in a gaming monitor. As far as the overall design of the monitor is concerned, it kind of checks all the boxes for what you would want on a high-end gaming monitor. So we've got tilt, pivot, swivel, and height adjustment with the monitor stand that does come along with it, although if you do want to go ahead and mount it, you can do so, as there is a 100 by 100 VESA mount on the back side of the monitor, and you do have controls on the right side so that you can adjust the on-screen display, which are marked on the front right bezel, which I'm kind of indifferent on, although I think it could maybe do without having the labels on the bezel itself, as once you start pressing buttons back there anyway, it instantly shows you on the screen what those corresponding buttons are going to do. So having it on the bezel, maybe not necessary, although it's kind of like a very faded red, so it's not instantly noticeable, but it is there, and you can navigate with the buttons, as I said. Not as good as having a joystick, and I was making some mistakes trying to go through there and cycle through the options, but you're probably just going to get this thing set up once and then you're going to be good to go. There is an option there. You can actually even set a LED, which is at the bottom of the display near the cable routing port. You can take advantage of the cable routing if you want to, although as you can see here, I obviously did not take advantage of that when I was initially setting up the monitor, although I may go back and do that now. But there's an LED down there at the bottom. Is full RGB, so you can actually adjust the full RGB color space within the on-screen display to get this to whatever color you want. So it's not just a few like pre-selected options like red, blue, green, purple, whatever. You can adjust all of the individual values for red, green, and blue to get it whatever color you want, which is good if you're going to want to match your setup with something like your keyboard or your computer. As you may have saw in my setup tour, I have it completely matched with my wallpaper and everything like that to be purple, and it looks really nice and kind of helps tie everything together. The bezels on here are moderately sized, I would say. They're not like super thick and chunky, but they're also not the slimmest bezels I've seen, but they're pretty standard for what I do see on 4K monitors. I'm not sure if that's like a hardware limitation. There's some reason they have thicker bezels on 4K displays, but it's something I've never seen an ultra slim bezel on like a 4K gaming monitor. Maybe something they could possibly look to do in the future. On the stand as well as the back side of the monitor, there are some glossy accents on here, which I really do think they could do without, because as soon as I peeled the plastic off of this, I could instantly see like dust starting to hit it and kind of collecting on there, and if you do touch it, it's going to leave fingerprints behind on any of those glossy parts. And on the back side of the monitor, there are a ton of these glossy accents, which just really aren't necessary. And even though I'm not gonna like hold it against them for having the glossy accents on the back, because they're out of the way, you're never really gonna see them. But the ones on the stand, that does kind of bother me, as you do see the dust kind of will collect there before anywhere else, where it's kind of like that matte finish. And on top of that, you can also, every once in a while, you might see reflections kind of bouncing off that, which could distract you, maybe especially if you're in a game. So the glossy accents, I would just ask, maybe in future iterations, just do away with those, as as far as, I'm not sure if what your market research is telling you, but compared to what I've seen in other videos and people commenting and stuff like that, people on Reddit, most of us gamers, I don't think we are really too favorable of glossy accents when it comes to really any of our peripherals or monitors. If you agree or disagree, let me know down in the comments below, as I would love to just get that feedback from you guys to either, confirm my beliefs on whether or not we want the glossy accents, or to, let me know that we don't, and then maybe I should stop speaking out against it. But for me personally, I don't like to see the glossy plastic black accents. The matte finish that they have on the stand and the back are really nice, and I would have just appreciated if that was all the way around. And of course, I did take this monitor through my full gambit of tests that I like to run on any monitor, and there was not any frame skipping present. Ghosting was very minimal when using the overdrive. Also, color and gradient banding was non-existent, and I was not able to observe any backlight bleeding when I put up an all-black screen in a dark room. So, passed all the tests that I wanted it to with flying colors, so no complaints really about anything there. So at the end of the day, would I recommend the ViewSonic XG3220, and who would I recommend it to? First question, yes, I would recommend this monitor for someone that does want to use it for gaming. Just, be aware that you should not buy it solely if you're wanting a monitor for HDR. You're not going to find it in this monitor or really any other monitor right now in 2018 at this price point. So be aware of that. Don't pick it up because you see HDR and you're like, oh my god, HDR, I want to take advantage of HDR and play games in HDR on my PC or console, whatever. That's just something you're not going to find at this price point. So don't pick it up for HDR. However, do pick it up for the fact that it's 4K, and especially because it's a 32-inch 4K monitors, which there just are not enough of right now in the market. There's really only a small handful, and it's been a couple of years since I was able to check out one on the channel. So it's definitely appreciative seeing more of these the bigger size, high resolution displays becoming available, because I think it is just essential, especially when it comes to just the user experience at the desktop. I mean, you wouldn't really notice it too much in gaming. I'm going from a 28-inch to a 32-inch display. It's just going to be, well, it's just going to be bigger. You're not going to really have to deal with display scaling and reading text and things like that. That part of it is really going to impact you at the desktop. Scrolling through websites, reading Reddit, Twitter, what have you, or just using applications and things in general on the desktop, it will affect that. And having the 32 inches is kind of right in the sweet spot, honestly, for this resolution. I mean, if you wanted to get the perfect pixel scaling, you would need like 40-inch 4K. That's really getting you at the same pixel scaling as a 27-inch 1440p monitor, but not really too many people have room on their desk for a 40-inch monitor. I do have one at one of my desks here in the studio, but I use it as a secondary screen. I couldn't imagine having it in front of me full-time as my main display, because it is just that big, and having it just like a foot and a half away is just a little bit too much for me. So that's why I kind of think 32 inches is kind of the perfect sweet spot when it comes for a everyday use 4K monitor. And I've been using the thing for the past couple of weeks now, editing videos exclusively, and doing some gaming as well for testing for this video. And I absolutely love it for video editing, and I'm not planning to switch it off my desk anytime soon. I'm actually getting another monitor that I need to review soon, so I'm going to have to pull it off my desk and put that one up there, and I'm not really looking forward to that because I really like having the XG3220 up there, and I'm going to continue to use that as my full-time editing monitor. So I could definitely give it my endorsement as a great 32-inch 4K monitor. Just don't get it for the HDR aspect. So I'm going to go on and get out of here, guys. Please let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you want a link to where you can pick up the XG3220, as I said at the start of the video, I'll have a link over to Amazon down in the description. It is an affiliate link, so if you click that, you buy something when you're there, I do get a small little kickback, and that helps me to run this channel. So I do appreciate it when you guys take the time to use those links. If you enjoyed this video or learned something new, don't forget to stick a like on it down below and subscribe if you're not already. And if you have been here for a while, you can always ring the notification bell. That way you never miss a moment of tech news or monitor reviews or graphics card benchmarking or whatever else we do here on the channel, vlogs and all that good stuff in general. So ring the bell, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow in another video. Ta-ra.